Welcome back to Ame Reads. I'm Teresa Garcia, or Amehana Arashi, and tonight I am reading for you Iron Crutch Lee and Goldfinger Wang, a Han folk tale that was collected by Louise and Yuan C. Kuo in their Chinese folk tales, which I do highly recommend getting a copy of if you can find it. Many folk tales were told about Lao Zi, who recorded his philosophy in the Tao Te Ching, the way and virtuous path of Tao, and his disciples. His philosophy embraced all mankind, but was primarily directed toward the Zhou dynasty vassals who strove to acquire the hegemony by any means, foul or fair, and the inept, degenerate sovereign who was losing control over the kingdom, and as a result, the cruel, interminable wars, corruption, and chaos brought poverty and suffering to the common people. The most popular ones revolved around a group of 8 immortals. Some of the 8 were historic personages of the Tang dynasty. Some were added during or after the Sung dynasty. Iron Crutch Lee was supposedly one of Lao Zi's friends. Like the others, he attained spiritual perfection and therefore became an immortal. Each immortal possessed a special magical power. Lee had the gourd. "What potent medicine from your gourd are you selling this time?" was a popular saying that meant, "Now what are you up to?" As one of Lao Zi's followers, Iron Crutch Lee found the greed, lust, and guile of Goldfinger Wang intolerable. In this folk tale, Wang was portrayed as the little man unable to cope with affluence. The magic golden tip on his finger was too much for him, and like many of his fellow beings, instead of using power and wealth for a good purpose, he abused the privilege until it was taken away. There was a little village situated on the high plains north of the River Wei. In this village dwelt a young man named Wang. He was accustomed to extravagant living, although he had already squandered his father's wealth. Besides, his father was no longer living to help or spoil him any more. But he had been brought up amidst wealth. How, then, could he labor like the others from morning as the sun rose in the east until evening when the sun set in the west? It would bring shame on his ancestors to go into the fields and work. Thus, the few remaining plots of farmland were overgrown with long grass. The neighbors despised him and behind his back called him Rusty Iron Lock. An iron lock was used only to safeguard money, hence the nickname implied Wang's uselessness. "The day will come when my good fortune will reverse things," Wang constantly said. "I won't be a man if I don't re-establish the affluence of my ancestors." One autumn noon, Wang was having a nap. Just as he was enjoying a dream, the noisy chirping of a magpie awakened him. "Loathsome bird!" he shouted angrily, and went back to sleep again. "Wang! Wang!" the magpie persisted. "Wake up! Hurry! The 8 immortals will soon be coming." "Never heard of a magpie speaking human language," he mumbled, half conscious, and drifted off to sleep again, thinking he was still dreaming. After a while the magpie called excitedly, "Wang! Wang! Hurry! 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 The 8 immortals are coming this way now!" This time Wang was fully awake. Opening his eyes wide, he poked his head out the window. Some people were approaching from the west, each one dressed in very strange attire. He counted 8 of them. "That girl must be the immortal Maiden Ho," he thought to himself. "The one on the back of a hairy donkey must be the immortal Chang. The one at the very end, limping with the support of an iron crutch, must be the immortal Li. Right, right, they are the 8 immortals," he exclaimed. All of a sudden he realized he was seeing a miracle. He hastily put on his clothing, very carefully wrapped the title deed of his ancestors' remaining farmland and a few of his favorite articles in a bundle, and rushed from his house. He followed closely behind Iron Crutch Lee. None of the 8 immortals paid any attention to him. Iron Crutch Lee, who was right in front of him, did not even turn his head around. But Wang stuck around anyway and followed them until they reached the bank of the river Wei. It happened that the river had risen to a great height, and the foaming water and swift current were rushing down toward the east. It was so wide even the other side of the bank was not visible. Excellent water! Today every one of us will tread on the white foam to cross the river. The one who spoils the pattern of the current will be the host when we reach Chungnang Shan, a legendary mountain where all the immortals assembled. Chungnang means extreme south, Shan, mountain. Well said! But how about that fellow following us? Iron Crutch Lee suddenly asked without even turning his head, as if he already knew what was in Wang's mind. It all depends on whether he can attain the way. If he does, bring him across. If not, talk about it later. If you want to follow us crossing the river, it isn't difficult, Iron Crutch Lee confided as he turned his head. Only promise 3 things, he said as he stretched his 3 fingers. Immediately, Wang replied. Please bring me across the river and help me to become an immortal. I'll promise even 30 things, that I swear. Well then, first of all, no distractions. You must only look ahead or you'll drown. I'll do as you say. I will. The second thing, throw your possessions into the river and don't feel bad about it or regret it. Of course, Wang was reluctant because this meant his ancestor's title deed had to be discarded, and he needed that to accumulate money. However, through his mind flashed the thought, if I become an immortal, I can recover the deed from the riverbed. So he agreed and instantly threw the bundle near the riverbank. The third point, continued Iron Crutch Lee, immortals don't eat cooked human food. I have here a half bowl of enchanted soup, primarily to wash away the refuse from your body, but it will also serve as your meal. You may take it. Lee then removed the big gourd from his shoulder. Thinking that the enchanted soup must be very tasty, Wang replied with alacrity, I'll drink it. Pick up a squash leaf and use it as a cup, Lee commanded as he opened the lid of his gourd. Fellow Wang immediately obeyed. Wiping the dust off the leaf with his dress, he folded it between his hands to make a concave cup. Iron Crutch Lee very carefully poured some liquid, drop by drop. This must be the enchanted juice, Wang thought, but it looks black and dirty. It must be scores of years old. A queer, offensive smell irritated his nose. There were little worm-like things wriggling in the juice. Fellow Wang almost threw up at the sight of it. Without realizing, he closed his eyes, drew back, and cried, Yah! Can this be drunk? Iron Crutch Lee's face dropped a little as he asked, You can't drink it? Very well, let me have it. He took the squash leaf out of Wang's hand and swooped the contents into his mouth like eating noodles. Then, stuffing the leaf into his garment, Lee said, Let me tell you, this is the enchanted juice given to me by the fairy queen mother of the western heavens. You acted as though I gave you something bad that couldn't be swallowed. Go back. I have to cross the river. Oh, good fairy, have mercy on me, Fellow Wang cried as he knelt down, kowtowed, and begged. Get up. You can't attain the way. You don't have the willpower to suffer hardship. You aren't qualified to dwell in paradise. I pity you for having followed us half the day, so I'll give you the squash leaf. It will bring you good luck, provided you are good to your neighbors and don't commit any misdeed. See you later. With that, Lee threw the squash leaf into Wang's lap, stepped into the river, and floated toward the other immortals. Fellow Wang saw the 8 immortals heading south, treading the waves just like walking on a smooth road. He deeply regretted not having the determination to drink the juice. Nothing could be done now except pick up the squash leaf. For a long time he patiently scraped with his forefinger to get whatever was still on the leaf. It amounted to only 1 drop. So he started to lick it slowly. Yah! Strange! Like magic, he instantly felt a sense of warmth and well-being all over, and smelled an ethereal fragrance like the ginseng fruit. He kept on licking the leaf until it was no longer sweet, but bitter. Only then did he reluctantly throw it away. At that moment he noticed the first two joints of his forefinger had turned yellow and shiny as gold. "That must be scraping the squash leaf," he exclaimed. "This gold finger should make me rich." He was so elated and took care to protect his finger by placing it in his mouth. At last he recovered his bundle near the river bank and returned home, feeling very satisfied. One spring a serious epidemic of diphtheria spread throughout his village. Wang was not affected, but those who were succumbed to the disease. Then he told his neighbors about his enchanted finger, and people named him Goldfinger Wang, for as soon as anybody sucked it, they were cured. Multitudes came to him for help, and all were cured. He acted as a good neighbor to each villager. But after a time he began to deliberate and thought it opportune to take advantage of the epidemic, and so recover his ancestors' wealth. For a patient's first visit, he charged an exorbitant fee and gave it the special name of the opening gift. People had to mortgage their property or quite often sell it to him if they wished to be saved. Wang satisfied his conscience by saying, "It's my destiny to become richer than my neighbors. If they have to suffer, that's heaven's wish. After all, didn't the immortal Li give me the gold finger and after that create an epidemic?" "Goldfinger Wang's nails are really long," people whispered. "With a single scratch she can destroy a whole family." After Wang had accumulated wealth like his ancestors, he did not even want to see poor people, and became a specialist for the wealthy only. What mischief he created! What harm he did! Conniving with the influential or powerful ones, he behaved like a real scoundrel. One day an old man with a long white beard and a large sedan chair borne by 8 husky attendants arrived at his home. Observing their arrival, Wang thought to himself, "That old man must be a very high official," and he immediately began to scheme. "Here is my chance to get an official post." Thereupon he examined the old man and then very respectfully stretched out his hand and placed his gold finger into the old man's mouth. But then a most unexpected thing occurred. The old man squinted his eyes and bit off the gold finger. "Do you recognize me?" he shouted in a fierce voice. "I can't allow this benevolent object to be used as an instrument to destroy people." Fellow Wang rolled around on the ground in severe pain. Whose voice was that? He thought, only half conscious. Very vaguely he recalled hearing it before. That was it! Iron Crutch Li was speaking. In a short time Wang passed away, and the village was later known as Goldfinger Village. Now what can this story teach us? This story has several morals in it. First, when you do good unfailingly without thinking about whether or not it will benefit you. Second, try not to take advantage of your neighbors because you don't know who's going to hear about it and come get you in the behind or bite your finger off. There are some others that are hidden in this story as well. I'll leave you to ponder them. If you think you found one, type it down in the comments and let's have a small discussion about it. Until next time, I'm Teresa Garcia. This is Ame Reads, and happy reading.